Longhorn fans, Sooner Nation, welcome to episode 179 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas, and the University of Oklahoma. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, since we have last met, the Oklahoma Sooner softball team swept the University of Texas. Mike White is incapable of performing against Patty Gasso. Take that for whatever you want. I thought I was going to enjoy another run rule game on Sunday. Your girls did come back, made it interesting. Sam Landry shuts it down in the end. 9-8 victory, 3-0 sweep. Oklahoma playing Florida tonight, and if they win, they will clinch the regular season SEC championship. Other news since we last recorded, the OKC Thunder have clinched their first round playoff and have waited what will seem like an eternity to play the winner of the Nuggets Clippers. It has gone to a seventh game. Nikola Jokic is doing Jokic-like things, but Kawhi Leonard is looking like the two-way player you thought he was in our last episode. But we have to start, and I think we have to start in the NBA. For two San Antonio kids, an era comes to an end. Greg Popovich retiring as head coach. I think we all saw this coming, but it's still huge news. For what he did for the franchise, for the league, for the city of San Antonio. Unfortunately for him, his wife, Erin Popovich, passed away in 2018. However, enough time has passed. I think the question has to be asked now that he's retired. Is this going to push him into the arms of a Jordan Hudson-like girlfriend? That, I think, is the question weighing on everybody's mind. What do you think?
Oh, is it?
That's what I'm asking you.
We'll see, man. If Bill Belichick can do it, anything's possible. Anything's possible.
Jordan Hudson might be the creepiest girlfriend in the world right now. You'd agree with that, right?
I don't know how to describe her, but it's she's got a hold on him, that's for sure.
It's off-putting. We can at least say that, right? It's off-putting.
It's all a bit odd, man. Especially since it's him. It's one of the oddest situations I've seen in a long time.
Look, it was so easy throughout their careers to compare Belichick with Popovich.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, Popovich took a team that had middling success for pretty much the entirety of its franchise up until the mid-90s and turned it into really the team of the century so far, maybe. 5 titles. I mean, I guess 4 titles and 1 in 99. It's close. It's close.
It's close. Yeah.
But over a duration of time, for sure.
Right.
The Warriors' window was a little shorter, but whatever. Anyway,
Warriors got 4, and of course the Lakers have won 5, 6. I guess.
Yeah, it might be the Lakers. You always want to count 2020. All right, that's neither here nor there. My point is, he did amazing things with them, as did Bill Belichick. And he's a surly dude that didn't really like to interact with the media. When they make him do those interviews in between quarters.
Oh, so uncomfortable.
Oh, and he would
cringeworthy.
He just purposely made it uncomfortable, and it worked for him, I guess. You would have liked to see him at full strength to see what he could have done with Wemby, I think is fair.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we know what he did with David Robinson and with Tim Duncan, obviously Manu, Tony Parker, even a Kawhi Leonard. There's just a lot that the guy was able to do.
The Kawhi Leonard thing is probably the most impressive.
You think so?
Yeah. Because Duncan was, as sure of a thing as we've had come into the NBA.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
Kawhi, no one saw that coming from being a guy that had insane defensive potential to becoming a 27 point a game scorer.
Yep.
No way. No one saw that coming. I certainly didn't.
Um, where does he rank in the NBA's best coaches ever?
I mean, top 3. You'd have to say Red Auerbach, Phil Jackson, and him.
Maybe the Lakers' Pat Riley. And
Yeah, you could go, of course. Yeah, Pat
Did
Riley's up
Pat
there
Riley
too.
did Pat Riley win one with the Heat? Was he the coach when the Heat won?
He
with
was.
Wade?
They fired Van Gundy, Stan Van Gundy, during the season, and he took over.
When they won?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Pat Riley's probably up there, right?
Yeah.
I hate to say Steve Kerr is because I just cannot stand him as a human.
Yeah, he's getting up there for sure.
But he's pretty good.
4 titles is 4 titles, right?
But I think Pop. I think you got to give credit for Pop over Kerr. I think you're right. I mean, Red Auerbach, obviously, 11 titles. Go on to be a general manager the way he did, and then who'd you say? Phil? Yeah, and Phil Jackson won
11.
6.
Yeah, 11.
Did
6
he win
with the
5?
Bulls.
He won 5 with the
5
Lakers.
with the Lakers. Yep, all 5.
Phil's number 1 to do it with 2 different teams.
Correct. Yeah, 6 with the Bulls. I don't care how the fact that he had Jordan and then had Shaq and Kobe, and then Kobe with the other guys were the ones in the late 2000s. Still, man, you got to give credit there.
Well, listen, Pop, if you're listening, as 2 kids that grew up watching San Antonio Spurs basketball games, we appreciate everything you did for the city, everything you did for the Spurs. Please do not go get a Jordan Hudson-like girlfriend. I don't think any of us can handle it. It's weird enough with Bill Belichick, but for real, you are awesome. All right. This is an Oklahoma, Texas football podcast, but we can talk about anything, and we're from San Antonio. We had to get that in. But let's go up I-35 about 65 miles to the 40 acres, and let's talk a little Texas football. Kevin, we got to start with your offensive lineman, true freshman Nick Brooks, 6'7", 345. Arrested for driving under the influence, 47 and a 30. Just to be fair to the kid, I go 47 and a 30 just about every day of the week. So that doesn't. Yeah, this isn't Georgia Bulldog level driving infractions. But
correct.
Whatever. I'm not condoning. I'm just saying. He did not have any alcohol in his breath, but it does appear that he might have hit the Mary Jo vape pipe a couple times. So whatever.
Maybe that's speculation.
Probably a legit pullover. We'll see. But that's just fortunately, whatever. That's just normal stuff that happens in off seasons. Every school, it happens to every school. Stupid stuff happens. You cannot control kids all the time. We don't always talk about stuff like this when it happens. I'm not necessarily picking on Nick Brooks, except during his arrest, when asked where he was coming from, he said, "I'm coming from the strip club on 6th Street that makes exceptions for UT players. And I was heading back to pick up a couple of recruits to take them back to said strip club." Kevin. I don't know if we're watching Jesus Shuttlesworth here, on He Got Game or what. Yeah. But is there really a strip club in Austin that is letting 18-year-olds in on 6th Street, and that's where they're taking the recruits? And that is the explanation for Steve Sarkisian's tremendous roster development over the last 3 years.
Well, that might help with the recruitment of players, but not the development. Not the development.
What about retention? Does it help with retention?
I mean, they got those everywhere. But recruitment,
Show
the recruits a good time, man.
Oh my gosh.
Show the recruits a good time. There's some insane stories of just recruiting stories that I've heard.
Have you been to this strip club on 6th Street?
No.
We don't really have the name of it. Has the name come up, the official name? The actual name?
I heard nothing even about this until you mentioned it to me.
Oh, I was on this. Dude, I was on this story. Are you kidding me? I was all over it. Look, again, this is just stupid stuff that happens. It's just funny to talk about in the offseason.
It's a funny story. Yeah, as far as the arrest goes, it's interesting, right? Because they gave him a breathalyzer. He blew 0.0. He had a vape pen on him, and you know, I guess they arrested him because he had it on him. They just assumed that he was, you know, doesn't seem like a charge that was dick. Not, I'm not defending. I certainly will
No.
never defend drunk driving because we've had players get arrested for DUIs over the
Yes.
years, and it's like, come
Yes.
on, man, what are you doing? Devondre Sweat after
Yep.
after his eligibility was off, but you know, and it cost him going in the first round. He dropped to the second round as a result of that. So you got to be smart. But I don't know if
Listen,
this applies with Mr. Brooks here.
whoever his upperclassman mentor is needs to get a hold of this kid and go, dude, don't be stupid and don't say stupid stuff. You have the right to remain silent, and it would have been better in this case. It would have been a non-issue until you're going around airing stuff that's happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating. In order to get talent like Nick Brooks, 6'7", 345 on the offensive line, apparently Texas is willing to spend the money. The latest report from Texas NIL dollars indicate that the 2025 roster could be paid up to $40 million for the upcoming football season. This is according to Kirk Bowles reporting, also an article in the New York Times. To give a comparison, Ohio State spent $20 million in 2024 and won a national championship. Obviously, this speaks to roster retention, transfer portal, high school recruiting. And it's possible, Kevin, it's possible that this number does not reflect Arch Manning's endorsements, because Arch is not taking money from the collective, according to all reports. Arch is getting, he's getting his own Manning money from Viore and Red Bull and Uber and all the things he's doing. So, number one, do you think this is too high, just right, or maybe not enough?
Well, let me just point out, first of all, that $40 million includes what the expected revenue sharing settlement is going to be. You know, so I expect Texas to not be the only school that's spending that kind of money on their roster.
Okay, so for math's purposes, what you're saying is Ohio State spent $20 million last year without revenue sharing, but when they get revenue sharing, they'll get a percentage of that to put towards football. Could be as much as 15 million. You're saying put 15 on top of 20. Ohio State really spent 35 last year. That's what you're saying.
Or they will. They will.
Okay, that actually makes more sense. That actually when you say it like that, that actually makes more sense.
Yeah, that's why I haven't gotten too excited about it. You know, like, oh my God, that's insane. I mean, it's insane given the history of the sport. But when you add the fact that there's going to be the revenue sharing plus the collective, it's a lot, but not like it's just $40 million from a collective that's going towards football.
A&M's probably spending this much or more, right?
I would imagine so.
I would think, if I had to think of schools, Oregon, A&M,
Ohio State, Georgia.
I don't know if Miami is. I think they might be spending money on one or two or three players to make a splash. I don't think they've got the pockets or the alumni base to roll this kind of cash, at least consistently.
I don't think they do either. I don't think Miami is like that consistently, like you said, top to bottom. I think that's more the Georgias, the Ohio States, Texas, Oregon, A&M. That would probably be it, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know what OU is going to be at.
I think you guys will be higher than people would think.
Oh, I don't think we're Broklahoma. I didn't even think we were that before John Mateer and Jaden Ott and whatever the heck Porter Mosier's doing on the basketball side of things, and even Aaliyah Chavez, because we got Dominic Williams a year ago. We've had some really good recruiting hits in the portal, which is just straight cash typically.
Yeah.
So I've never really been that worried about it. This just makes me, it's like, you better have a general manager that knows his stuff to
Yeah,
manage a $40 million roster, though, Kevin. You know what
correct.
I mean? That is
Yeah, for
crazy.
sure, for sure. It's wild, man. And from what I've read, they do expect this number to drop next year, and that there's apparently some auditing company that's going to be kind of taking a look at all these numbers and setting a market for players.
Right.
I think everybody has agreed that the transfer portal and the amount that people are willing to pay for transfers are just out of bounds. Right, we're getting defensive linemen who are talented, but it's not like Aaron Donald's in the portal, Gerald
Yeah,
McCoy's
but
in the portal, and these guys are going for over $1 million.
what you're saying is, correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is it is not so much the market value of the D lineman, but the market value of what his NIL is requiring of him to do. Right. In other words, if um like I'm my Alice Young owns Brown O'Haver. I work for her, but let's just use Brown O'Haver as an example. If we were going to pay Dominic Williams, as part of his other collective stuff, $10,000,
Hmm.
this auditing firm, from what I understand, is going to take a look at this $10,000 and validate that it's not strictly pay for play. That in fact, Dominic Williams is providing $10,000 worth of services, exposure, uh, internet influence, clicks, whatever this auditing metric is, to validate that that is a typical endorsement deal versus $10,000 just pay to play. Is that what you're talking about?
No, no, no. I'm talking about just establishing a market value for players. Period.
Oh, so we're talking two different things. I don't know how you, doesn't the market establish the market value?
You would think so, but I mean, I think we can all agree. I'm all about players getting paid, but some of these amounts for I don't want to say average players, but maybe slightly above average players getting seven figures just seems a little odd. You know?
It seems odd and off-putting. Absolutely. It's weird. It might have helped Nico make a better decision. I think it'll help these guys make decisions.
Yeah.
And I think it'll help players make decisions because the problem is right now is it sounds like, okay, I don't know about you, but when I was like 26, 27, 28 years old, and I'd finally gotten a quote unquote big boy job, right? It took it some time, but I finally got a real job, traveling, doing the whole deal. When you would compare with your friends, there was kind of a little bit of measuring going on into how much you were making and what your benefits were and what kind of baller you were.
Yeah.
This is all 28-year-old white guy stuff. I mean, maybe you did it too. I take that back. There were some black guys that I did this with too. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, it's a
were you
young dudes. Yeah,
eh,
for sure.
yeah, 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 you're just young guys and you're trying to compare. Well, take that back down to like 18 or 19, and they're saying how much they're making, but you don't really know how much they're making.
Correct. Yeah.
And so, is that number really that number? Ergo, a kid wants to enter the portal and they're getting $250,000. They're like, well, if Jimmy over here is making 600,000, I need to get mine. Well, Jimmy was never making $600,000. It wasn't even close. In fact, you were probably making more than Jimmy, but now you've entered the portal and you wonder why you can't get your money, and now you wonder why you're stuck in the portal. You
Correct.
go look at the portal right now, Kevin. There is a ton of players,
Hmm.
upwards of 1,000, 1,500 that have
Yeah, they're
entered the
just
portal.
floating.
They're
They're
just
just
floating and
lost
not.
in space. Yeah.
And if they're floating lost space, they're not getting paid.
No.
So I do agree that it would help manage the process. I'm just not sure you can. Anytime you start having people setting salaries and market value, it gets a little tricky economically, but that's a different
Yeah.
conversation.
And apparently there are these auditors that are going to be, you know, looking at the market value of players, establishing that. But it's one of those things, right? Like, how do you once players have been paid that amount, are they gonna be okay
you go
with getting
backwards.
paid less? So what's gonna happen here? So we'll see, man.
Well,
We'll see
like
what
I said,
happens.
so on the flip side of that, I've heard that an auditing firm would be auditing NIL contracts, as I described, to validate that it wasn't strictly pay for play. That some
Okay.
law firm wasn't writing $1 million check just to make sure. Yeah, just to make sure Ryan Wingo is the starting wide receiver at Texas.
Yeah.
That in fact Ryan Wingo is going to have to do so many
appearances and
podcasts and whatever to justify a $1 million price tag.
Yeah.
So maybe in conjunction with what you're saying, we'll start to get some more guardrails. Still, though, I don't know. It's fascinating. Speaking of the transfer portal, though, y'all locked up your transfer portal. Mason Shipley, kicker. Emmett Mosley, the 5th wide receiver. Murad Watson, defensive line. Jack Andres, tight end. Lavon Johnson, defensive line. Are you surprised? We've talked about most of these guys. If there's anything you want to say, feel free. Are you surprised there's no offensive lineman in this portal class?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. So I don't know what the deal was. If they're just comfortable with the guys they have, or was there nobody in there that they felt like would really help? Because for them, they're going to look for somebody who's going to be, especially on the offensive line. If they're going to bring an offensive lineman, they're going to bring somebody in who's going to potentially start. You're not really looking for depth here. We have talented depth. If they're going to bring somebody in, you're a clear-cut starting level player for them. And if not, I don't think they kind of waste the resources on that. The defensive line has been completely different, though. They brought in a bunch of guys. None of these guys are star players. Now, I believe that they are very excited about Murad Watson. I believe they're really excited about him.
Is he Maryland?
Syracuse.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really excited about him. The other guy, like Lavon Johnson, I think will be more of just a depth guy. Which you have to have on the defensive line. But Watson, they believe can be a starting level player.
I don't know if you're up to speed on the transfer portal's offensive line entries, but was this a down year for O linemen and it just didn't make any sense? Did they miss on anybody?
That's certainly how it's happened. I did not hear them associated with any names on the offensive line.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm also really excited about Jack Andrews from Cal. I think he'll be their starting
tight end.
Yeah, I think he'll be their starting tight end this year.
Were you surprised? Let's transition to the drafts that you mentioned tight end. Were you surprised Gunnar Helm went as low as he did?
He didn't have a chance. I don't know if you, not that you would watch the combine or care about this, but
not Gunnar Helm's
running
combine,
his 40. When he started, he rolled his ankle, right? And he posted a picture of it. It was all nasty and bruised up. So he didn't run a good 40. He ran a 4.84. Everyone knows he's faster than that. But then he was still injured at the pro day. So he didn't get the full postseason pre-draft evaluation from an athletic standpoint that he would get. And I think that's why he fell.
Texas, 12 players drafted. Last 2 years, 23 combined players. Second all-time for a 2-year span behind 22-23 Georgia. There's a couple of ways to look at this. The cup is half full for a Texas fan in that it means Sark and staff are doing a heck of a job evaluating and developing talent. And I don't think there's any argument to that. I don't think you can make that. I don't think you can argue against it. Glass half full for Oklahoma fan, however, is you just lost 23 contributing players in 2 years off of your starting line and too deep. And is this the year that Texas has to suffer through some growing pains and some rebuild? It's one thing to reload when you have 12 NFL players on the roster the following year. Does Texas have 12 NFL players on the roster this year?
I think we're close to it, yeah.
You think drafted in 26?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's a reload thing, man. We're done. The rebuild stuff's over. Yeah.
That makes me want to puke.
Now, listen,
that makes me literally want to throw up in my mouth.
Some guys got to prove themselves, for sure. Offensive line, we like our left tackle, Trevor Gooseby, a lot. We will be replacing Kelvin Banks. We have DJ Campbell coming back. we got question marks in the other 3 spots though. There's a lot of talent there. Are these guys ready though? That's going to be the question. But we like the talent. We like the development. Everywhere else, I feel pretty good too. Defensive tackle is probably my
More so than O-line?
um
Because you lost
tackle.
a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
You lost a lot of starts at offensive line, all
we
across the
did.
line, not just the tackle,
We did.
all
We do have
across the
some
line.
guys who have played on the offensive line though, but I mean, we lost. Again, we lost. I mean, we've had 4 defensive tackles drafted in the last 2 drafts, right? Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, but we had Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins. Both of those guys go second and third round. Who's going to replace them? And the guys who are replacing them, they have played a little bit, but not as much as Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins had played coming into last year. So that's
Right.
why my concern is there. What I feel really good about, though, is our edge is going to be pretty dynamic this year with Colin Simmons, Ethan Burke, and Trey Moore's back. So we really like the edge position. We like the linebacker position, and we love the secondary too.
Look, I think Colin Simmons might be the best player on your team next year,
That you will
including
get
Arch.
0 argument from me on that.
Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take, including
No.
Arch. How much do you think he's making? How much do you think his retention
man,
contract was for NIL? Since we talked all about NIL,
I'm sure it's a few million.
you think it's a few million? Like north of if I said 1.75 million, you'd take the over.
I slight under, but
Slight,
between
okay.
I say 1.5 and 2. I have no
Okay.
idea. This is just me throwing it
It's
out
just
there.
you guessing.
Just a
All right.
top edge rusher with I would say 3 years of eligibility, but we know he's playing for 2 more years.
On the OU football side of things, closing out the transfer portal. I guess strong. People are excited about this kid, Jermichael Carter, 6'4", 190 out of McNeese State. Went to Kentwood High School. Can you name a famous alumni of Kentwood High School, Kevin?
I'm not familiar with that high
In
school
Louisiana.
at all.
Kentwood High School, Louisiana. It's not a football player.
Yeah, because I've never heard of it.
This is a pop culture question, Kevin. Pop culture.
I got nothing, man.
One Britney Spears.
Okay, how about
You
that?
like that? Kentwood, Louisiana. Britney Spears. You're a Britney fan?
She's very talented. It was definitely a moment when she first hit the scene. I mean, it was like a nuclear bomb going off when she first hit the scene. Very popular.
She's in a sad state right now. We don't have to get into it, but she's in a sad state, Kevin.
For sure.
Absolutely. So, Jamie Lynn, on the other hand, she's still going strong. God bless you, Jamie. Okay, anyway, that's neither here nor there. You didn't have to bring that up. He had 37 receptions last year, 537 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's going to join Javonte Gibson, Deion Burks, Isaiah Satania, and hopefully Giovanni Gibson on the field in the wide receiver room. On 3 and others are starting to buy what Oklahoma is selling offensively. I ask you, Kevin Miller, how do you think the OU offense is going to fare in 2025 now that you think the roster is pretty complete?
Well, I mean, I like Mateer. I think he's going to be great for you guys. I think bringing Ott in, he's going to be your number 1 running back. We'll see what the guys behind him do, especially Tatum, more than anybody else. Gavin Sawchuk hit the portal, right? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So with him and Barnes, what kind of depth do you have there?
Did he land anywhere?
I haven't heard, and then I'm curious how the receivers are going to look. Still, even with I just don't know much about the kid from McNeese at all. I don't know, if you've seen highlights or anything like that.
No.
Are you going to have a guy like? I'm not saying you need to have someone as good as him, but a guy that you can rely on when it's 3rd and 8. Who's he going to throw to? Is it going to be like one guy? The ball's going here.
It's got to be Burks, right?
I think so. I mean, we saw so little of him, though.
But when we did see him, especially in the beginning of the year, he was Arnold's favorite target, I
He
think.
was. He was. Just the fact that we just didn't get to see him against any of the SEC teams. I mean, I know he's back from Missouri, but he had missed so much time. Then did he have a turnover? I think in that game.
Well, he got lit up in that game too.
Yeah, he did.
I
It was
think
a
did he
huge
suffer
hit.
another concussion?
I think so. He got hit really hard. Yeah. So
And then it was weird because he signed an NIL deal or said he was coming back. That he wasn't entering the portal, and they made a big deal of that. And then he didn't play
yeah,
in the bowl game. It's like,
yeah, that was interesting. He wasn't hurt. Around
no,
the game.
it was just odd. If you're not
Yeah.
going pro and you're not transferring, it's a game on the schedule. Like you play
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Just play it. Play it.
So I don't know. All that to be said, I think the receiving room, my expectations are tempered. Because like you, in terms of that guy, I think it's Deion Burks, but I don't know for sure. There's just not a superstar. There's
Yeah.
not Nick Anderson getting you 12 touchdowns on 13 catches through 6 games in 2023. Like that guy's not there. And I'm not saying as in we needed to keep Nick Anderson because he had that's its own bucket of issues if you don't play. But there's just not. Oklahoma fan, and me in particular, are used to really, really good receivers, like Bolitnikov level receivers at Oklahoma, and have for 23 of the last 25 years, up to and including Marvin Mims, who's now in the league, and CeeDee Lamb, of course, and the list goes on and on. Hollywood Brown, D.D. Westbrook with a Bolitnikov. I mean, just keep naming them.
Yeah.
I don't see any of that on this wide receiving roster. Now, can an Arbuckle offense create mismatches and put guys in position to maybe start to see those type of numbers? That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Is can the system create the opportunities for these guys? Because I'm not sure these guys alone, if that makes any sense, could just go out there and get the ball.
Yeah. Also, who's playing tight end?
I don't know. I had no. That was a silence. That might have gone a little too long. I have no idea, Kevin. I don't know what is happening in the tight end room. Y'all got the big guy out of Stanford, right? Injuries.
Cal.
Cal.
Mhm.
You got him out of Cal. I think we might have been in on another guy, but I don't know, man. Like right now, there's a very real possibility that we're rolling with the linebacker turned tight end, and his name
Kanik?
just Jaron Kanik.
Okay.
There's a big. I think it's more likely than not. You do have Caden Helms. I think he could give you some minutes, but we never really
That would
seen
be
anything
very
from him.
interesting if Jaron Kanik, after playing linebacker for 3 years, can
Well,
hop in and play tight end.
I saw this sentiment online, and I think it's so accurate. Everything at OU seems positive right now. Everything.
Yeah.
National championship in gymnastics. A softball team that is on the verge of winning the SEC after losing a historic group of seniors that won 5 or however many or 4 titles in a row or whatever, right? A basketball team under Porter Mosier that suddenly knows how to get transfers, guys. 4 transfers off the top 100 listers. It's a crazy number that he's able to sign.
Yeah.
The football team with Mateer and Ott and Ben Arbuckle and all the good things happening on that side. Aaliyah Chavez in basketball and women's basketball. The baseball team is competing at a high level. They're ranked in the top 25. Everything is going. college golf. Both college golf teams are in the regionals competing this weekend and the following weekend. Everything is going in the right direction at Oklahoma, except the tight end room.
Okay. I've got the roster pulled up. You want to hear the names?
Yes, please.
All right. Jaron Kanick, who we talked about. Caden Helms.
Yep.
Now he's going to be, I believe this is year 4 for him.
Right. Hasn't he been hurt forever?
I think so.
Yeah.
I just don't remember seeing a lot of them out there. Cade McIntyre. Renee Washington. He was a freshman out of Carl Albert High School, local kid. And then you got a kid, John Locke, who looks like he's a transfer from Louisiana Tech. And then Will Huggins, transfer from Pittsburgh State. And then Carson Kent, a transfer from Kennesaw State.
If the didn't Bauer Sharp come from Louisiana Tech?
No, he came from, I think, southeastern Louisiana or something like that.
Okay. Again,
I'm so interested to see how he does at LSU, by the way.
oh, I am scared to death that he's going to do well. I am scared to death that he's going to do well. It stresses me out.
Now, you don't feel that same stress about Arnold, though, right?
I don't think Arnold is very good.
Okay.
I don't think Arnold is very good. I think the problem for Sharp is that he just had zero help, just put in terrible positions and had a couple of boneheaded plays that just stand out that maybe really aren't indicative of him playing. And that he was on the receiving end of Jackson Arnold's throws, which made it even harder to play the game.
Yeah.
Again, I think Bauer Sharp needed a fresh start regardless. And I think the Oklahoma fan base needed a reset at tight end. But I don't know that reset needed to be Jaron Kanick. I hope it gets amazing. Listen, I hope this is a Blake Bell transfer to wide receiver or transfer to tight end type situation. And you're like, dude, we have a third team all SEC player here. Like, what the heck just happened? I would love it. The only thing I can think of, the only thing in my brain that is making me somewhat willing to overlook this tight end situation, which is the bane of Oklahoma existence right now, is maybe Ben Arbuckle's offense doesn't use the tight end very much.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so maybe effort and resources and NIL dollars were not deemed as needed at tight end. And so they're comfortable with what they have because the packages aren't. I don't know. I think that might be a bunch of crap, but it's the crap that I'm choosing to eat right now to make myself feel better about what is a bare tight end room.
Yeah. Maybe one of these guys steps up. You just never know, right? Like, Gunnar Helm was here for 3 years before he had this past season.
Do you still have the Caden Helms pulled up? Do you still have it pulled up?
Yeah.
What's the measurables on Caden Helms?
He's listed, and this is a spring roster for this year, by the way, so pretty recent. 6'5", 238.
Dude, that sounds great, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. I mean,
that sounds if you had 6'5", 238 on a transfer tight end out of a mid-major school, you'd be pretty fired up about that.
Yeah. He played 8 games last year. Says.
1 score against South Carolina,
right? 2 catches for 19 yards and a touchdown, 10-yard touchdown.
I think that was against South Carolina.
It was against Maine.
Oh, it was against Maine. Oh,
yeah,
none of those count, Kevin.
And the second one
don't count.
Okay, so here's what he had. He had 1 catch for a touchdown against Maine, and then he had 1 catch for 10 yards in the bowl game against Navy.
I think that's terrible, right? Am I being too hard on the tight end room?
I mean, you're only going by what you've seen so far, which is not a lot. Doesn't mean you won't see anything. Doesn't mean that, guys can't develop, but I think you might be relying on some of these transfer guys.
What do you think, off the top of your head, where do you rank OU's defense in the SEC out of 16 teams?
Probably top 5.
Okay. Where do you rank their offense? Where they will be?
There's so much unknown, man.
I know. I'm just saying, throw a number out there. Just throw a number out there. Are they top half?
I'd say 10, but I don't know. I have no idea.
Really? Let's hold on to that, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Miller, zero faith in Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer, Jaden Ott.
No, I like John Mateer. I like Mateer.
If you like Mateer, then they gotta be better than 10th in the SEC.
I'm concerned about his supporting cast. Is he gonna get the help that he needs? And how long before Fasucci's gonna be your starting left tackle week 1, right?
It's moving in that direction, yeah.
I mean, he's had the whole spring. And I don't like putting too much on freshmen, you know this. But we had Kelvin Banks, who showed up, not in the spring, in June. In June, he showed up to campus, and he was the starting left tackle week 1.
How did he do?
And
How did he do? Didn't he start against Alabama?
Fantastic.
He started against Alabama, right?
His second game of his career, after showing up in June, Will Anderson and Dallas Turner, and gave up 0 pressures to either one of them.
So what are you talking about? Maybe Michael Fasucci starting's a good thing, if that's the comparison you're making.
It's a great thing. No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. You're not being funny. You're being serious.
No, I think he's that good. I think he's that talented. And I think if he's that talented, just put him out there. Let him go through it. Put him out there week 1. Start him.
Brent Venables is not in a position to hold anybody back.
Yeah,
There is no
rounds left in the chamber this year.
No, there is. You better use every single person on that team that gives you a chance to win. Like last year, Xavier Robinson to me is the top of the list.
Yeah.
Of just criminal decisions made by this offensive coaching staff that ultimately have to land on Brent Venables' shoulders. Like he's got to take responsibility for it. The fact that we did not see Xavier Robinson until whatever game it was, 7th or 8th game. No, he played against, was it Missouri? No, it was Alabama, Missouri, right? Didn't we win at Alabama and lose? Or did we lose? No, you're right, because we lost at Missouri and won against Alabama. I think it was the Missouri game. Yeah, I think you're right. The fact that we didn't see Xavier Robinson with all that was going on offensively, to have a kid on the sideline that could carry the ball and create positive plays, and not to have played him for 7 games was criminal.
And no one's saying that he's Adrian Peterson, right? But it was clear in that Missouri game he was by far the best option you had, and it wasn't close.
I'm not saying he should have been the best player.
But he was, clearly.
But he was.
I mean,
Taylor Tatum.
You don't have to be Vince Lombardi to figure that out. As soon as he was out there, the best player. Based on his talent, absolutely. Yeah, it didn't take Vince Lombardi to realize that. To see, as soon as he had the ball, it's like, oh, this guy looks different than anything we've seen all year.
Listen, here's the problem. I'm going to say, the same thing goes for Jaron Kanak, which I've already gone on a rant about. If this dude, and we just talked about the tight ends, if this dude ends up being a above average tight end in the SEC, or let's just say average, right? Let's say he's the 9th ranked starting tight end in the SEC. That will be better than any offensive skill player we had last year. And to know he was on the roster and not playing in a position that could have impacted the team it's mind-boggling, Kevin. It is, and it speaks to Brent Venables' either his trust in his offensive staff or his laissez-faire approach to offense or I'm so focused on defense and I can't worry about what's going on the side of the ball, which he can't do this year. I know he's calling the plays, and we're kind of going off the rails, but it's
We're not
45 minutes in.
This is what we do.
It's 45 minutes in, and it's all like hitting me right now. If he takes his eye off the team, it's going to cost him his job, and it's going to cost Oklahoma a chance at a good season.
Correct.
He's got to be a head coach this year. He's got to see what is painfully obvious. DeMarco Murray's running back room, it was painfully obvious Xavier Robinson was the best running back. And to find out that he hadn't played 7 games, I mean, dude, I'll tell you what, we could have used him against Tennessee. We could have used him against Ole Miss. We could have used him against Texas. We're still going to get beat by Texas, but we could have used him.
Yeah.
And instead, the guy's on the bench while other guys are fumbling the ball.
Yeah.
While other guys are averaging 2.8 yards a carry.
You just got to look at the defensive efforts that you wasted last year. Pretty solid against Texas last year. Pretty solid effort against Texas last year. Really good effort against Tennessee.
How about Ole Miss, Kevin?
Yeah.
How about Ole Miss?
But I mean, Tennessee is different because you shut it down. They really couldn't. They had the one big play on the little quick crossing route that broke. But you had Nico frustrated.
Listen, I think you know what I'm saying. Sorry to get so excited, but we've got
it's college football. This is what we do. We get excited.
All the way back to the regular the stuff we were talking about. My original question to you is, where's OU ranked? My point is I think OU could be 5th or 6th in the league.
Okay.
In offense.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Well, I think Mateer is a top 4 quarterback. So if
I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to argue with that either. Seriously.
I think by default, if he has the stats of a top 4 quarterback, by default, that makes an offense have to be 5, 6, 7. It just has to be. I mean, if Mateer doesn't have the year, then the offense can be whatever it ends up being. But if I believe he's a number 4, the top 4 quarterback, then I have to believe the offense is going to be much improved and above the Mendoza line in the conference. So if you have a top 5 defense and a top 6 offense, you are going to win 9 games in this league. And with this schedule, maybe a college football berth. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that is crazy if you look at what they've added along with the coaching changes they've made.
I can see this is going so many different ways here. I can see you win 9 games if the offense is what you think it could be. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you look at the schedule here, right? I mean, Illinois State. I think the Michigan game is massive. I mean, it's monumental. You have to win.
Is there an early line on that game?
Let's see. You have to win that game because, I mean, it's going to set the stage correct. It's not like, it's cool, it's a non-conference game.
No.
Very, very,
very important. This isn't Texas going to Ohio State. This is two different situations.
Yes.
Because you don't have the backloaded schedule that Oklahoma has. So you have to stack wins, including against a Michigan team. It has to happen. When I'm saying 9 wins, it absolutely includes a Michigan game.
Correct. All right. Let's see here. Oh.
I think Oklahoma, I don't know if they're favored right now, but I would think once it comes around, OU's got to be at home. I bet they're favored 3.5 or 4 when it comes around to it.
I don't see one yet.
No, it might not be one.
Yeah, I don't see. Which
Michigan has.
It's a little surprising for me that they don't have an opening line. I don't see any games or any, even though
any opening lines.
It's interesting because Texas Ohio State has one.
Is it just because it's the first week and that line isn't dependent on other games? I guess I don't know.
I mean, they've got Texas Ohio State -3, by the way, which is fair. It's in Columbus.
Yeah.
They've got Alabama, Florida State. They play week 1. LSU, Clemson, week 1. Week 1 is going to be There's some really good football games.
Oh, I can't wait.
Miami and
I
Notre
abs-
Dame.
I know it's May
Excuse me?
2nd, but I cannot wait.
TCU and North Carolina. Bill Belichick.
Is it really Catholics versus convicts in week 1?
Week 1, 6:30.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I'd love
How
to
about
give me a
this?
fight. Oh, give me a
It's
fight.
even better. Hold on, even better than this. Sunday. It's Sunday. It's a Sunday night game. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then
I love
Monday,
that.
so we get Texas. First of all, okay, we get Texas Ohio State. I expect that to be at 11 o'clock, unfortunately, because it's the Big Ten and it's Fox. And they put their big game at 11. I know. And also at 11, it looks, according to this is on DraftKings, Alabama, Florida State. Hopefully they switch that time. LSU and Clemson. Yeah, they got them all this at 11. And there's no way all these games happen at 11.
No.
So Alabama,
LSU
Florida State,
Clemson will
LSU,
LSU Clemson will absolutely be a night game.
You would hope so, right? You would really hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Sunday, you have a doubleheader, Virginia Tech at South Carolina. Fun. Yeah. And then Notre Dame at Miami. And then Monday night, you have TCU at North Carolina. Bill Belichick's first game as head coach.
Will Jordan Hudson be on the sideline for the first game?
It certainly seems like we're headed that way. If not, she's going to be in a suite in the camera with an isolation camera that's pointed at her the entire game.
Oh, that would be obnoxious. If you're a North Carolina fan, or even like a booster or something, and you signed up for Bill Belichick, you're not feeling as good about this decision as you did maybe in December, right?
I feel you're a little nervous. You're a little nervous.
I think you're more than a little nervous.
I'm just so curious how he is with players, with those players. I'm so interested to know that.
Well, they were in the John Mateer sweepstakes for a little bit.
Yeah.
Golly, I'm glad we won that. All right, Kevin, let's change. We've got a short amount of time left because you and I are busy gentlemen. We've got Kentucky Derby. Just real quick, Toby Keith's horses render judgment. Do you have any other horses that you have an eye on that you want to speak to?
No, I've done no Kentucky Derby prep. Okay. So I tuned in, watched the Giant Hats and Mint and Juleps, and yeah.
I am going with Tiz-tastic. 20 to 1. 20 to 1 shot. 20 to 1 shot.
Have you laid a
bet
on?
Of course, I'm going for Render Judgment because it's Toby Keith.
Honestly, I didn't realize that. First of all, RIP to Mr. Toby Keith.
He's
great OU fan, representing your fan base. But I didn't realize he was into horse racing. I didn't know that was a thing he did.
Apparently, it was a dream of his to have a horse in there, and of course, it was too late. Late. But yeah, it's his family's horse. So
yeah,
that'll be on Saturday. Shedeur Sanders ended up going 5th behind Dylan Gabriel to the same team. I had texted you. I texted you on Saturday night saying, "Oh, it looks like the Browns actually were smart for once because what I meant when I said that was that they got Shedeur with a 5th round pick, which made whatever your take is,
it's good value.
It's value, right? Getting a guy that you were supposed to get in the 2nd round, maybe in the 5th round, is borderline genius. However, to find out that it's their 2nd quarterback off the board, and they also drafted Dylan Gabriel
in the 3rd.
I didn't realize that when I sent you that text, and I'm like, oh, he probably thinks I'm an idiot, because why are you drafting 2 rookie quarterbacks?
And if you draft only the Browns. Rookies, and if you draft 2 rookies, you don't draft them that close. You draft, it's like, Washington drafted RG3 and Kirk Cousins in the same draft. There was never a controversy there. We know RG3 is the guy because he's the number 2 pick in the draft. And this other guy is drafted in the 4th round. It was never a controversy. Never at any point. And, RG3 had the injury stuff. But yeah, this is just weird, man. It's weird.
It's weird. Real quick, we're going to close with this. Your Los Angeles Lakers are done. I told you this when the trade happened. I told you this. LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves do not play defense, and they don't have a big. Like, I don't know what change. There's nothing else that changes in that scenario. They don't play defense, and they don't have a big. So it was obvious this would happen. However, are you a little bit surprised that LeBron James is 2-12 in his last 3 seasons with the Lakers in the playoffs?
Not really. Not really.
Does Michael Jordan go 2-12?
If Michael Jordan is 40, absolutely. Did you see Jordan with the Wizards? We can pretend that didn't happen?
I don't know. Listen, we can pretend whatever didn't happen. But I think the last 3 years have tarnished LeBron's legacy.
I completely disagree with that.
I think instead of being the clear-cut number 2, he has literally brought other players into the conversation of who might be the best player in the 21st century, i.e. Steph Curry, maybe even a Jokic. I really think that this is an issue for him. And if he decides to hang it up, I think I don't know. I think it's just a sour way to go out. And again, you're right. Listen, Jordan with the Wizards was weird. Jordan with the Wizards was weird and all that, but I don't know. You let Anthony
Edwards.
Anthony Edwards just push you around. I mean, he just pushed him around the whole series, dude. For 5 games, Anthony Edwards worked him.
Yes, Anthony Edwards is incredible. Yes.
He wasn't incredible last year when he got to the finals or whatever.
He got to the conference finals.
I know, and he wasn't incredible in the conference finals.
He wasn't. Yes, that was last year. He's elevating his game. He's on a great trajectory as a young player.
Look, I like Anthony Edwards. My point is LeBron James is washed up, old, and he might not have ever been as good as you think he was. That's what I think is the reality that you have to live with today.
He's 40 years old, year 22. He averaged 24, 7.8 rebounds, and 8 assists a game at 40. Guys have played until 40 before. That has happened. No one's even come close to being this productive.
I think that stats in the regular season are a fantastic way of saying that somebody was good when they weren't good.
So you think he's not good? No, look, he's not.
Was he good in the playoffs against who they just lose to? To the Timberwolves? Was he good against them? No.
He wasn't?
Good enough to win the game? They went 1-4. They went 1-4.
Yeah, it's a horrible matchup.
They were all going to be horrible matchups, and he orchestrated the whole thing. And don't tell me he didn't orchestrate the whole thing. He wanted to play with another superstar. That's why Anthony Davis got shipped.
You don't think Anthony Davis is a superstar?
I think they would have been better off keeping it Anthony Davis, don't you?
I don't think he orchestrated that. Dallas orchestrated that in the most abysmal move we've ever seen.
Well, that was pretty stupid. Kevin, we have more to talk about. We might have to do another show, maybe Monday or Tuesday, just to get some more stuff in because there's a lot going on in the sports world. But unfortunately, you and I have to go. Kevin, enjoy the Kentucky Derby. Enjoy the playoffs. Enjoy softball. What else we got going on? There's other stuff going on. There's tons of stuff going on. Enjoy it all. Have a great week. Oh, there's not going to be any rain. Let that sink in too. Kevin,
for a couple of days. Enjoy it.
Hey, enjoy the weekend. Kevin, have a great day. Boomer!
Okay.